Welcome. My name is Hubert Bennett and I'm one of the SLDS trainers for the Georgia Department of Education. Today's session will be the Profile Manager for Infinite Campus. We will be showing you how to create a new role in SLDS Profile Manager. Since this is specific to Infinite Campus, we will also show you how to create the role in Campus and how to assign that role to a user. However, please keep in mind we are not the official voice for your SIS. So if you have questions regarding our comments about Infinite Campus, please consult your Infinite Campus rep. I hope that you have logged into your student information system. If you haven't, please do so now. During this presentation, I will ask you to try a few exercises. This is to allow you the hands-on experience. I do realize it may be difficult for you to watch my screen and try to imitate what I'm doing, so I will pause periodically so that you can try the exercises. Also, let me say, if you have a unique situation, it is better to address that after the recording stops. So please jot down your question and we can talk about it at the end of the webinar. Later in this presentation, you will be asked to complete an electronic sign-in. This even relates to those of you watching the recorded version. This will be your ticket out the door. We will use that contact information to send you a certificate of attendance. You can share that certificate with your administration in case you need proof of attending this session. I'll be switching my screen here. You should see my screen now. I am using the state school, which I happen to be one of the data persons that help manage the SIS for the state schools. That's the Georgia Academy for the Blind and the deaf schools, etc. First thing I'd like to point out to you is that in Infinite Campus, before I can do this, I have to be the D5U, the district super user. So I'm going to go into my SIS, into my Infinite Campus, pull up my account by using all people. I will go to district employment. Now, just in case you that are on the webinar or those that will be viewing this in the future on the recording, if this is how you assign a role to a user in Infinite Campus. So I went over to my account, to district employment. I clicked on the first record entry here. And you see in the bottom of this custom box, now some of you may actually have additional custom fields below here, but it will be in this like 2 inches from this box. You have a long list of roles, SLDS roles. This is what we will be working on. I am the D5U user, so if I wasn't, I would change myself to D5U, hit save, then go back to the index of Infinite Campus and I would click on the SLDS. Now as the D5U, when my SLDS opens, you will notice that it looks completely different than normal. This is not the going into the data part of it, the resources part of it. This is solely coming into Profile Manager. That's why we have hard-coded that D5U. Only the D5U can come to this page. So let's talk about the SLDS Profile Manager over at the state level. You'll notice that you have several different applications here. As we add new applications, that's where this will be loaded here. But default, it comes up by role. So that's the first option type. And then if I click on the drop-down box in the roles category, these are the roles that I currently have set up for the state schools. Yours may be different. Yours does not have to have all of these. It just all depends on how you, the D5U, the district super user, wants to set up your roles. If I switched my type to application, say for example, today we're going to walk through the example of setting up a gifted teacher role. So if I wanted to go into my Profile Manager and I wanted to see maybe who already has the gifted tab selected, I would choose by application. And then in my next drop down, it's a list of all my applications or my programs. So I can see gifted. If I select gifted, give the screen a second to refresh, you'll notice that all of the roles that I have, none of them are checked to be for gifted. So currently, right now, no role, no SLDS role has the ability for gifted. And I can manage that by these two applications here. Either I can search by role or search by application. Another option would be, say, if I wanted to see who might have the Go For application, which roles has Go For, I can click there and you will see here are the applications that have the roles that have Go For turned on. Go For is not turned on for these three. While I'm here, if you'll notice, Stu and Parent are both kind of grayed out. Those are managed by us, by the DOE. Those are for the parent portal and the student portal. So we will manage those, but from our end, you cannot make changes to those, okay? Now, what I want to do is go back and reset this to by role, and so that it comes back to normal. I can look in my list of roles, and here are the roles that I currently have available. And the first one I have up is Central Office. So before I go to creating this new role, let me explain a little bit here. So this is the role. These are the applications, as you see in the legend here. These blue boxes, the cubes, are applications. And then to get to container, you see there's a plus sign here beside SLDS. I strongly, strongly, strongly suggest that every time you see a plus sign, to expand the plus sign so that you can see and make sure that the correct other options underneath that plus sign are turned on or checked as you so wish. You'll notice when I clicked on the SLDS, I went down to levels. So I have a district level SLDS, school level SLDS, and a teacher level SLDS. So that's all of the containers. Now, you notice that these levels also have a checkbox, so they're coming over to the key. So these are various reports or pages or parts of the application that can or cannot be turned on. For example, if I wanted to create a historical dashboard that would only show high schools milestone EOCs and old EOCTs and old high school graduations, I could come in here and remove the Georgia, the third grade writing, the fifth grade writing, the eighth grade writing. I could remove those from the historical dashboard solely because they didn't take those at the high school. But I can simply do that. I can manage what they see by checking or unchecking these boxes. Okay, so what I've done there is I clicked on the plus sign. For the application, it spreads open to show me the levels or the containers. Some of the applications do not have a plus sign, as you see here for growth model or IEP. But if they have a plus sign, then it goes to levels. For example, if I click on TRL, you can see there are 4 levels here because one of those levels is parent. All right? So if they do not have a plus sign, then that means that application is not built to do specific things for different levels. IEP, if you select IEP, it will give them the IEP icon, whether they're a teacher, school level, or district level. Okay? Okay, now that I am looking at this, let me pause the screen for just 1 second and let you just kind of play with what you currently have here. Click on the plus signs, open them up. At this time, please don't change anything, but just kind of look and see what's going on. I'll only pause it for a minute or so, but I want to give you time to play. So I'm going to pause the screen and the audio. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. Now what we're going to actually begin doing is creating a new role. Now we're going to do a role for a gifted teacher. Now this is only an example. You do not have to create this role. However, if you want to create the ability for your district to start using the gifted eligibility form, then you will need to do something like this if you haven't already done this. If you have already created this, and there are some 50 some odd districts that are already using the gifted eligibility form, I think there's been something like 400,000 hits inside of the gifted eligibility form just since the beginning of school. But if you already have one, you can practice by creating a new one if you wish. So this is only an example, okay? To start off, I'm going to click the new role, and as you notice, I am doing this first inside of Profile Manager. I really think it is better to do this inside of the Profile Manager first, and then to go back into the SIS. That kind of allows me to avoid assigning the new role to someone before I have Profile Manager set up. But in this example, I am going to use capital T for teacher, underscore, and then capital G, gifted. Okay? I like to put in descriptions. This is teacher level SLDS with gifted tab. And if I could type, I would be dangerous. Okay? So I just created teacher underscore gifted. Now, notice my list is still sitting on central office. Even though my screen down at the bottom, it says that the new role has been added successfully. However, if I tried to use that now, it is going to blow up big time on me. But if I click on the roles drop down, you'll see I have teacher underscore gifted. Now you may be wondering, why in the world did I do it like that? I did this as teacher underscore gifted so that by sorting, it would be there in that same area with the regular teacher. Okay. Now, what I need to do, I'm going to click on teacher underscore gifted, and you'll see none of these applications are checked except for SLDS. However, if I hit save now, I am getting an error. Please select container for application SLDS. And what that is saying is I have SLDS, and you might look at this and say, well, I've got it checked. But see, it's saying please select a container. And remember, container is below that plus sign. So I have not told SLDS what level this role has. Now, you might be thinking, what? It says teacher. It doesn't matter what the label says. We're not interpreting that label as being the teacher. You have to designate that this will be a teacher role. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I strongly suggest clicking on the plus sign and making sure that all of the check boxes did get checked. See, if I check on this, by default, it's supposed to check mark all of these boxes, but I like to always check. Now if I save it, I have saved successfully. But if I try to use this role now, the only thing these users could see would be SLDS. They would not be able to see anything else when they clicked on the SLDS button, which kind of defeats the purpose. The whole idea is you want to make a regular teacher, but give them access to the gifted tab. So what I want to do is to make certain that all of the applications that are set for my default teacher are also on my teacher underscore gifted. How can I do that? If I go back over to teacher, I can see here are all of the applications that are turned on for a regular teacher. You might want to jot those down so that you can remember. You might want to take a little screenshot of this so that you can remember. These, in my opinion, are the default options for a teacher, for a regular teacher. So I understand which roles these are, which applications. So I'm going to go back to teacher underscore gifted, and to make this same role exactly the same as a regular teacher, I would come in here and hit growth model. I would select teacher under TRL. There was no GTID. There was no IIS. They are teacher level GoFar. They are not high school feedback. They do not have, they do have PD. They do not have LOR. And if you'll notice, I should be able to save now and save successfully. This now looks exactly the way a regular teacher looks. However, the unique thing about this one is I wanted to make this regular teacher now have the ability to see gifted tab. So I'm going to check the plus sign, and I am going to select what level or what container they should have. Now, let me pause for 1 second and explain this to you. The gifted application is unique. Now, as we build other applications, just for example, we are actually in the design mode now for an EL tab, something that school systems can do similar to the gifted, but they can help manage the EL students, the ESOL students. So it may be very similar to this. The containers under gifted, you'll see it says district, school, and gifted teacher. It doesn't say a regular teacher like, say, GoFar does. The difference is a gifted teacher container actually grants access for that teacher inside of the gifted application to be able to search every student in the school. Not just based on their roster, but every student. Now, they can only see very minimum pieces of information, but they will be able to see every student. The idea is that the gifted teacher will be testing students that are not yet gifted. So they will need to be able to see and to actually enter scores for students that are not yet gifted. So when you give this application, the gifted application, to gifted teacher, you do not change anything what they see in SLDS or GoFar or PD or anything. You're only changing the gifted application. You're allowing this teacher to be able to search names, grade level, and GTID of every student in that building. So, but that's inherent to the gifted application, not solely to Profile Manager. I just wanted to point out the difference. That's why it says gifted teacher rather than just teacher. Okay? So I'm going to click Save here. All right, and I did get saved successfully. I hope you guys have been listening and watching and paying attention, because now I'm going to pause the screen. I'm going to let you go in and create your new role, and then I'll check back in on you in a minute or so, okay? If you have questions, just enter a question over the chat box, or feel free to unmute your phone. Okay, welcome back. I do not see any questions, so I hope everyone was successful in creating this new role inside of Profile Manager. Now, I am going to go back into my Infinite Campus. And again, let me just remind you, I am not, or we are not, the experts on Infinite Campus. Okay, we're just offering this as a form of assistance. If I say something contrary to what you understand from your Infinite Campus folks, please double check with them and see what the correct answer might be on how to do it inside of Infinite Campus. So what I want to do is go into Infinite Campus, and I want to demonstrate on how to create a role inside of the SIS. So I'm back, and hopefully you have access to be able to do this. If not, then you need to find the appropriate person at your district that has access to do this. I'm going to go down to System Administration. I'm going to go under Custom, and then I'm going to go to Custom Attributes. A list of different data tables will open up. We are going to be looking at the Employment tab. When I open up the plus sign, you'll notice that it says SLDS Roles. This is where Infinite Campus stores those myriad of SLDS roles. Whoop, I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Okay. You click on the dictionary. So here are the SLDS roles. And all I did was move the screen slider so that you can see some. You could easily turn these off, active or inactive, but here is the table that is inside of SIS. Now, the item that we have to be the most careful with is not the code nor the name, but we have to be very careful with the value. This is the token. This is what must mirror the role name that's inside a Profile Manager. Okay, this has to be exact. Okay, so I'm going to come into my my role here, and I'm going to create a new role. And notice I have to slide over to the far right. I do not use these buttons here to create a new role. I apologize for my screen blanking out. I think I may be scrolling too fast, so I will slow down a little bit. But I need to add a row, and there at the very top, a box will come here. So I'm going to just call this Gifted Teacher. Okay? Remember, I can say anything I want to here. I can say anything I want to here. Gifted Teacher. Okay. Now the sequence, notice that this kind of goes up to 24 or so. The sequence is in what order these will be listed on the drop down when you go to assign these to a new role. So I'm going to just say somewhere kind of towards the end, so I'm going to just put in 22. Okay. Now I'm going to slide my scroll over, and here's where it's really important. Okay, this is the token. So I need to make it exactly the way it was on the Profile Manager, okay? And then the last thing I need to do, I don't need anything in standard code, but I just need to make sure that it is active, okay? So now I save. Give it a moment to save, okay? Now, to show you where that comes up at, well, actually, now's probably a good time. I'm going to pause for just a second, let you create this new role. And again, if you have a question, you can unmute your phone or ask me a question in the chat box. I am muting my phone. I will leave this screen up just so that you can see. Okay? Thanks. Everybody get that? I hope so. So now what I want to do is I want to show you what I just did. Okay, I'm going to go up here and search as if I'm going to assign that new role to me. Remember, as before I was as the profile manager, and actually I'm drawing attention here. See, I still have that open, so I need to close Profile Manager. Never, never, never just X out of this screen. Always, always, always log out of SLDS. Okay, that shows up because I've been in there so long. So normally you will not get that kind of error. Okay, but I'm back over in my Infinite Campus. I click on that role. Remember, I'm still the D5U. And since I put that gifted teacher down near the bottom, see now, on this list, you see it is actually showing those first two fields from that data table. It is not showing the value, but the value, that middle column, is actually the one that is the most important. I'm going to switch myself to gifted teacher, hit save. Okay, now let's go back and see what happens if I hit SLDS. Now, just to let you know, I do not expect this to work. I'm doing this on purpose. Okay, it went back to my profile manager because I had logged out. When I logged out, it did that error, so my cookie was still in there. So let me log out again. I'm not at this time. I'm going to try not to completely shut down my SIS, but I'm going to re-click on the SLDS button. I am getting this dreaded error. Now, those of you that have ever seen one of my profile manager training sessions at a conference or something, this is usually the first screen that I throw, or the first real screen I throw up after the intro. This is the error. It's telling me that something went wrong with what token you're passing over to SLDS. That role is not authorized to access LDS. I'm hoping some of you may have noticed what happened to begin with. So I'm going to log out here. I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to point out what the problem intentionally was done. So I'm going to go back over to my role, because this is telling me that something's wrong with my roles. The role that I have in Infinite Campus and the role that I have in SLDS is not the same for whatever reason. So I'm going to click on here. Oh, I did that again. Click on the plus sign and then dictionary. And I put it down near the bottom. You'll notice that the value, I intentionally did not put the underscore there. So I need to edit this. to be exactly the same as what I had in Profile Manager. However, you may decide, well, wait a minute, maybe you did something wrong in Profile Manager. Maybe you didn't want the underscore in Profile Manager, so you could easily go into Profile Manager, change it there, but they just have to make sure that the value in your in Infinite Campus and the role name in Profile Manager are exactly the same. Case sensitive, space sensitive, everything. So I'm going to hit save. So Infinite Campus is resaving that table. Now, actually, since I did not change the name or the, excuse me, of that particular role, I actually do not have to change or reassign my role for SLDS because all I did was change the value. So now if I click on the SLDS button, do you think it'll work? It will not work, but this time it's for a whole different reason. It did work. It came across without a school name, which is unusual because it usually will not come across without a school. But you see now I do have the gifted eligibility tab here. You notice that there's nothing here down at the bottom, and that's why it did not pick that up, because I am in all calendars. If I switch over to a particular school, click SLDS, now I am not a teacher in that school, and it will not give me a current schedule, but you'll notice now that it has more of the screen and everything there. I do have gifted eligibility. I have GoFar, PD. I'm going to log out there and come back into this screen, into my Infinite Campus. So what I would like for you to do, I'm going to pause the screen, correct if you need the role that maybe you had been following my directions and intentionally did it wrong. But I'm going to give you time to play with it. Hopefully yours will work. If not, shoot me a chat message or pick up the mic and we can discuss it. I'm going to mute my mic so that you have time to play. Okay, welcome back. I hope everyone was successful in doing that. Those on the webinar, on the recorded webinar, feel free to rewind and pause at any time that you like through the process. Let me, if I can, remind you all. We were just using gifted underscore teacher as an example. If you are actually creating the gifted scenario, in other words, if you are wanting to put the gifted eligibility form available at your district, then you would need to go in and create or to finalize the other roles. You would need a district level gifted and possibly a school level gifted. The reason I say possibly, if you have approvers at the school level, not a gifted teacher, but an approver at a school, then there would need to be a school gifted person as well. School level or district level are approvers with the gifted application. That teacher, gifted teacher role, that component, they only have submission access. So they could submit a gifted information, but it would take an approver, either school level or district level, with that gifted app. They are approvers. Let me just kind of throw a scenario here. In your district, if the gifted person at the high school is also the one that approves it, then you can actually give them school access under the gifted application. You do not have to change their SLDS or the GOFAR, their TRL. Just change the gifted application to being school level. Then that user that's assigned that school level gifted access would be able to enter the information and approve. Any other scenarios outside of that, just let me know, and we can work through that. Just to finalize that, we provide training to the districts about gifted, so encourage them to begin using the gifted. All right. At this time, I'm not going to pause and let you create those roles, but those additional roles. But if you do, as you do that, if you run into a scenario, please give us a shout or a call. I'm going to now transition to the culmination of this. I'm going to change my screen. Okay. So here's what I need you to do. Even those of you that are just listening to this at some later date, I need you to open up a browser and type in this URL. Notice it doesn't start with HTTP or anything. All you have to do is go into the browser and type in goo.gl/C, the number 3, capital V, the number 1, lowercase w, uppercase W. Those are case sensitive. That will bring you to a little sign-in box. That's electronic sign-in. That email is real important. Make sure you get the email address correct, because that is what we will use to send the certificate of attendance. As I said earlier, you can share that certificate with your administration or anyone else that may need proof of your attendance of this session. If you're having a difficult time with that URL link, or if you have any other questions, shoot me or Jesse an email. As you can see near the bottom of the screen are our email addresses. Specific questions about this webinar, send them either to me or Jesse. General questions that you may have, you can send them to the SLDS@DOE.K12 email address. I want to thank you for participating with me. I hope you found this session beneficial. If you cannot attend other face-to-face trainings on our other training modules, please participate in some of our other webinar training sessions. We are also taking suggestions for future webinars. So if you have an idea of a future webinar, shoot us an email. We'll be glad to try to accommodate that request. At this time, I'm going to stop recording.